Welcome to More Than a Muse podcast. My name is Sadie.
I'm Stauney. Welcome back. Hope all of you had a wonderful 4th of July. Hopefully the world didn't end.
Yeah, I agree.
I've been seeing a lot of funny memes, though. People are like, this 4th of July is like the going out of business sale. And like,
oh, no.
Like the last hurrah. It's been funny, but...
It's like funny because like we just recorded 2 days ago. So I feel like I don't have a lot to catch up with you on.
Yeah, me either, really. We're trying to get this in before the holiday weekend. So yeah, I don't think we really have a lot to talk about.
No. Anything new, though, that is worthy to be shared on podcast and not,
Yeah, no, nothing really big happening here. Just living life.
Creating art.
Yeah.
As much as we can.
Yep, that's been about it. But I do have a fun person to talk about, even though it might be
I'm
a little
excited.
Shorter of an episode in general. But I wanted to talk about, so my company does this thing where they help with Make-A-Wish. They donate money to it, but then they also do this thing where they get different companies or like sponsors to present the wish to the children. And so they turn it into like this whole big production, and they turn our entire 2 office buildings into whatever theme or something in order to grant the wish. So they had a kid who wanted to go to Alaska. So they had a bear lookout, and then like a mountain hike he had to do. And then he had stamps in his passport he had to get along the way. And then at the end, they're like, congrats, you're going to Alaska.
Okay, cute.
Yeah, like it's cute. It's fun. And I volunteered to help with the one for the girl who wanted to go to Disney World. She was just a little 3-year-old, so like didn't even really talk, but she was obsessed with Anna and Elsa, as many 3-year-olds are. And so for her little passport thing, I made the little storybook, and I ended up, of course, because I can't stop myself, I made the full illustrated thing, and I like did all the illustrations myself because I'm insane, as mentioned. So
you had to.
But when I was looking for inspiration, because we obviously couldn't use any official Disney art, even though we do have some of it, but we're only allowed to use it for like our bottles.
For products.
Yeah. I was like looking for inspiration, and I ran across this concept artist for Disney back in like the 60s, I think. 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, named Mary Blair. And I fell in love with her style, you guys.
Oh, how magical.
I just loved it. And so I was like typing her name in and like finding all these things. And she did concept art for so many of those old Disney classic films.
Yeah.
And it was just the cutest, most beautiful illustrations. And I even found there's this another illustrator right now who's very inspired by her. And he does a lot of books and murals and a lot of Disney licensed things, but in like her style for different stuff. So she has like a huge impact on everything Disney now. Like it gives like that classic nostalgic Disney. So I wanted to talk about her because I was like, I want to share this person with people. And I was like, oh, wait, I have a podcast. I can.
Wait, I've given myself a platform.
Yeah. But there isn't a ton about her, even though I feel like she had a huge impact. So I also did want to shout out, there's this book. I haven't read it yet, but I found it when I read, you remember the episode I did on Millicent Patrick?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she designed and created the creature of the Black Lagoon, but she also worked on Disney projects for a while as one of the animators that did like the in-between scenes and stuff. So there's a book actually called The Queens of Animation by Natalia Holt.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and it's the untold story of the women who transformed the world of Disney and made cinematic history. And I haven't read it yet, but it's been on my list ever since I read the Millicent Patrick one, because they both recommended each other's stories because they were doing research at the same time. And they both ended up in the Disney studios learning about these women who were like so integral to like the beginning of Disney, but don't really get a lot of credit for it.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn more about that whole world, highly recommend. There's also another one that's like Women of Imagineering, and they talk about like the theme park careers and like the women who are involved in that. So basically, Disney has a lot of women in its history, which is very cool. And Mary Blair is one of them. So
that is so cool.
Yes. Yay. I'm going to, of course, be posting some of her art, but just Google it and scroll through. So Mary Blair was born on October 21st, 1911 in Oklahoma, and then actually moved to Texas while she was still really small. And then about 10 years later, they moved to California. So kind of, moved around a little bit, but she ended up in LA. She graduated from San Jose State University that she attended from 1929 to 1931. and then ended up winning a scholarship to attend Chonard Art Institute in LA, where we talked about Millicent Patrick, I think, went there as well. That was like one of the main funnels into the Disney program was Chonard. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that right. I might be saying it wrong. And like I said, it was like a major thing to go there because it made a lot of connections for a lot of the jobs in LA at that time. And so she graduated in 1933 and ended up marrying another artist 2 years after graduating named Lee Everett Blair. And she also was the sister-in-law of an animator, Preston Blair. And so with all of those connections and everything, she was able to become a member of the California School of Watercolor and became known for her really imaginative coloring and designing. And so her first job in the animation industry was with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, MGM Studios. So they did like Wizard of Oz, Challengers recently. Oh, it's the one with the lion. We all know that one. Okay. I was like, I know that name, but what?
I really honestly just had to fight the impulse of doing the and I guess I just did it. But anyways.
Yep.
Anyways.
No, you're good. So she was there for a little while, and then she ended up joining her husband at the iWork studio. They were a partner with Disney at the time. They worked on Steamboat Willie and a lot of like the original Mickey cartoons, but they were more of a contracting situation rather than the main animators, which makes sense. Before Disney was like a thing, he had to work with people who knew what they were doing.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. And so she worked there for a little while and then moved to Disney. And she was there throughout the 1930s. She actually was a little bit reluctant about it. It doesn't really say why. I don't know if maybe she was like, I'm a cliche, or it was because it was really common for people from her school and women to go into the Disney studios at that time. And so her first
shame in being a sellout.
No, I'm like, they were paying good money then.
Yes.
So in 1940, she worked briefly on art for Dumbo, an early version of Lady and the Tramp, and then a second version of Fantasia titled Baby Ballet that wasn't released until the 1990s. And then after some time, she decided to leave the studio in 1941, just feeling that she was artistically restrained and unsatisfied with the work that was given to her. But because she's in like this group of animators and has like a lot of connections, she'd only been away for the studio for a short time when she ended up going on this trip with Walt Disney and Lillian Disney and other research artists on a tour.
Cool.
They said it was a part of the good neighbor policy of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, where they were like trying to build connections with other countries, I think. Okay. So they were going to like all these different South American countries. And I guess Walt Disney and Lillian Disney and a bunch of other artists just all went together. So
okay, cool.
Yeah, she like ends up on this tour with Walt Disney himself. And she's, of course, drawing and creating while she's on this trip and doing it in her own style. And her use of color and shape really impressed Disney. And he was like, hey, we're doing an animated feature film, Saludos Amigos and the Three Caballeros. And I need you on that project. And so she was like, okay. So he made her an art supervisor for the animated feature film. And then also those drawings of children that she made throughout the trip ended up being the concept art and inspiration for Disneyland's It's a Small World attraction.
Wow, that is cool.
And if you look at her style of the little children, it is definitely It's a Small World. Like they pretty much credit the entire design of that ride to her. So very cute. And she continued to work on projects then. So she was doing animation and color design on major films in 1943 and then would continue to work on animated films for Disney for a full decade. It wasn't widely celebrated by others because they had a really hard time bringing her 2D paintings to life and they were really confused on her unique use of colors. And I can see what they're saying. Like her art has so much texture and light and shadow and weird contrast. And I feel like that would be hard with their capabilities at the time. Yeah, we were like, you can see the brush strokes and like the layers of paint. And it's like, how do you
translate that? Yeah.
Yeah. And they were limited in their capabilities. See, I can understand why they were probably frustrated, but I also can see how her stuff ended up really influencing the films that she worked on, even if they weren't happy.
That's amazing.
They were probably like, great, this beautiful work of art, and I'm supposed to somehow turn this into an animation. Yeah.
That's hard.
Which was all hand-drawn at the time.
True.
Yeah, but she kept working. She worked on Fun and Fancy Free, also Song of the South and So Dear to My Heart. I haven't seen any of those. But then in the 50s, you've got her most well-known concept arts. And if you Google her name, these are the ones that come up. She was working on color styling so basically the concept art, like she was creating what the look and feel of the whole film would be. And that was for Cinderella.
Oh, I knew it. I'm like, it's going to be Cinderella, the best, most beautiful animated movie.
Alice in Wonderland.
Of course.
And Peter Pan.
Of course. Those are like the prettiest Disney movies.
And you can tell, like, especially like Alice in Wonderland, like all of the bright colors, and it's all in her concept art. And it's so beautiful. She has these scenes of Peter Pan with the mermaids, and then there's plants everywhere. I feel like you can tell that those three movies had her.
Totally.
Even though her style is so different from the hand-drawn animation, you can tell that it was influenced. There. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
So those are definitely like the three largest films that I feel like has a lot of her artistic influence. And then she also worked on a couple of animated shorts. They mention them. It's like Susie, the Little Blue Coop, and The Little House. Once again, haven't seen those either, but I'm sure they're beautiful. After completing Peter Pan, she ended up resigning from Disney and then working as a freelance graphic designer and illustrator for the rest of her career.
Do we know why she resigned from Disney?
I'm assuming it was probably the same thing. Like, it's got to be really hard to watch these creative things you're creating just turn into hand-drawn animation that can't nearly be as beautiful as your artwork.
Yeah, okay.
And she was reluctant to start at Disney in the beginning and had quit previously before. So I'm sure she wasn't like, this is my dream job, even though that's what she's mostly known for now. So it's like kind of funny. But yeah, like she just, I think, wanted a chance to do something else.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And so she did for a while. She did advertising campaigns for Nabisco, Pepsodent, Maxwell House, Beatrice Foods, and a bunch of others. And then also illustrated a lot of those little golden books for Simon and Schuster.
Oh, she has the most wholesome resume.
Right? And I feel like there's a couple of them that are still in print. And once again, her art style is so distinct. I'm pretty sure you could figure out which ones they were. She also designed Christmas and Easter sets for Radio City Music Hall for their shows, which I'm sure were gorgeous. And then also worked as a designer for Bonwit Teller, creating theatrical sets. So doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Walt Disney himself then came back and requested her once again because he really wanted her color styling while they worked on It's a Small World. And so he was like, please. And so she came back. I didn't know this. Apparently, It's a Small World was originally like a New York World Fair attraction.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So it was like a Pepsi Cola sponsored pavilion benefiting UNICEF at the 1964 New York World Fair. So they like created it for that, which once again, why don't we still do this?
Why don't we have a World Fair? Literally.
Every time we talk about it, I'm like, this sounds so cool. Why are we doing this anymore? Because they stopped because they thought it was too hard for people to travel. But no, it's easier.
And we do the Olympics. Why can't we do this?
Just do the World Fair at the same time.
True. Very
but
true.
Whatever. Anyway, but of course, after the fair closed, they replicated the attraction in Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World Resort, as well as Tokyo Disneyland Parks and Hong Kong Disneyland after the original one that they had in Disneyland. So
that makes sense because I always wondered, like, why It's a Small World. Like, there was no movie that it was tying to, but it like felt like such an integral part of like Disneyland, and so
like,
I always wondered.
It's a small world.
I mean,
like we're all united.
That ride is objectively a little annoying, but like
I love it.
it was my dad's favorite ride too. I haven't been to Disneyland since I was probably 14 years old, but like it was my dad's favorite ride, and like when we went as a kid, he would just want to go over and over again, so he would like volunteer to take the babies and just like go over and over again on It's a Small World, because the line was usually a little bit shorter. And so he would just take the babies and zone out and just be very zen, and we would go on all the other rides.
I think I loved it because it was like, it's literally like art just everywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
So I really love it, but I understand they do play the song on loop.
I mean, like I said, I haven't seen it in over 10 years. Maybe I would love it now. I don't really remember it.
Would. Who knows? And it's in every park. It obviously was very important to them. The attraction has received both criticism and embrace, so you're not alone.
Yep. There we go.
But her bold use of shape, color, and cultural motifs continued to be recognized and celebrated throughout the entire ride. And I think it even the outside with the shapes and the unique shading and everything like that is definitely her. She also did a couple of murals that were showcased in Disney parks, hotels, and other attractions from California to Florida at this time. Not only painted, but tiled decor too. Ooh. Once again, it did not have like pictures or mention specifics. I don't know if a lot of this was documented because it probably would have fallen on her. And
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't know. But one of those things was in 1966, the philanthropist Dr. Jules Stein hired Walt Disney to create a ceramic mural for his newly opened Eye Institute at the University of California, Los Angeles. And so she designed the mural for his pediatric waiting room. And the theme that Walt Disney chose was of that. It's a Small World attraction designed by her. So that also mirrors that. And then she did a mural art for the Tomorrowland promenade at the entrance of that. And then the mural over Adventure Through Inner Space was covered over in 1987 with the opening of Star Tours. So
Walt Disney loved her art.
Yeah. And they've gotten rid of it.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
That's annoying.
I was like, wait, I haven't seen that. And then I was like, oh, that's because they covered it over with Star Tours. But the other one apparently stayed until 1998. But then that one got replaced by a ride that I haven't even heard of, Rocket Rots.
Is that the one that is just like the rockets?
Maybe.
I feel like I could imagine it, but I don't know. I don't actually know what it's called, though. So.
Yeah. And then her design of a 90-foot high mural remains the focal point of the Disney's Contemporary Resort Hotel at Walt Disney World that she did in 1971. So that one's still there. Another thing that she did for Disney is she would make sets of Walt Disney note cards for Hallmark, like contracted through Disney. She did that, and then also worked as a color designer in the film How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, which I didn't know there was a film.
Ah, yeah. Uh-huh.
So she worked on that.
That's so cool.
Yep. And then eventually her career ended again with Disney when she moved to Washington for her husband's military career and then returned to a home studio located in Long Island, New York. But that was the end of her career. Wow. Obviously, like very busy for quite a long time. I'm going to list her films really quick. So the ones that she worked on include How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, Lady and the Tramp, Peter Pan, The Little House, Susie and the Little Blue Coupe, Alice in Wonderland, Cinderella, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, So Dear to My Heart, Melody Time, Song of the South, Make Mine Music, The Three Caballeros, Saludos and Amigos, Dumbo, and Fantasia.
Wow.
And then she also wrote for Walt Disney's Wonderful World of Color and Once Upon a Winter Time. Lots of work going on there. After her husband, I think he passed away, she moved back to California, but died shortly after of a cerebral hemorrhage. She was only 66. They think it was brought about by acute alcoholism, which once again, didn't hear any information about that until they were like, that's probably how she died. So it feels like there's a blank slate there a little bit. In 1991, she was honored as a Disney legend and also received the Winsor McCay Award from Hollywood for her work, even though it wasn't during her life, but it was also along two other Disney animators. So they were recognizing the influence that she had, even though it didn't happen during her lifetime.
That's still cool though that they did that.
Yeah, I'm like, I like that they still do those because I feel like they're saying, no, this person really was significant. Sorry, we didn't realize it at the time.
Sorry that we did not give the credit that it deserved, but.
And then obviously she did work on a lot of illustration outside of Disney too, but the work there isn't as widely known. But her bold and groundbreaking color design still inspires many today's contemporary designers and animators. I agree. I feel like every single illustrator that works for Disney has definitely been inspired in some way by her artwork because I can see it in literally everything following her. So it makes sense. She has had a Google Doodle.
Oh, cool. I always love the random note in a lot of the people we cover where it's, they didn't get like a lot of the credit they deserve, but they did get a Google Doodle.
They got a Google Doodle.
Posthumously. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was in October of 2011, commemorating centennial of her birth.
Love
and
that.
It was just an image of an illustrator as she would have drawn it herself, surrounded by simple patterns and shapes that make up her cartoon world. Simon & Schuster's actually published a biography about her life. It's called A Pocketful of Colors, and it's a picture book biography for like little children done in her style, which is so cute.
Yeah.
And that was written by Amy Jugalemo and Jacqueline Torville and illustrated by Bridget Baroner, who also had worked as an artist at Disney. Love that they were like, she wrote books for us, so we're going to make a little biography for her. She also should be credited with introducing modernist art styles to Walt Disney and using primary colors to form intense contrast and colors that are unnatural to the image they're depicting. I think Alice in Wonderland is like the best example of that, where it's like unexpected colors in places that you don't really expect them to be. Like instead of using green for every grass type thing, she didn't. She allowed things to be unnatural and weird, and it looks better that way.
And it's a beautiful, and it's Wonderland. Of course it would.
Exactly. Nice. Yeah. And like Neverland and Peter Pan, they needed those unexpected colors, and she helped push that. She has had exhibits. The Museum of Contemporary Art had the colors of Mary Blair in 2009. And then the Magic Color Flare, the World of Mary Blair was on display at the Walt Disney Family Museum in California for a couple, like 9 months in 1 year of 2014. And in 2022, so very recently, in her hometown of McAlester, Oklahoma, they unveiled a mural of Blair to recognize her contributions. And it was painted by local artist Camden Taylor. And it's her surrounded by a bunch of fantastical vines, a gold stopwatch, references to Cinderella and Alice in Wonderland. And that's on the side of Honey Bean Boutique in downtown McAlester if you want to go and look for it, because too far away from me. And there also is a little visual representation of Mary Blair in It's a Small World. So if any of you are in Disneyland, you can see there's a little girl halfway up the Eiffel Tower holding a balloon, and that is Mary Blair.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah. And that's all I know about her, you guys. That's it.
I just finally looked up the artwork.
Isn't it gorgeous?
Yes. I am this is no shame to anyone who is a Disney adult. I'm not particularly one. I wouldn't put Disney art up in my home. I would put some of this up in my home. This is so beautiful.
It is stunning. I'm like, if you are a Disney adult, this needs to be up in your home.
If you want Disney art, this is the way to do it.
It's so pretty. It's literally gorgeous. When I was working on the project, I ended up buying a set of like Procreate brushes that are inspired by her art style. Cool. And that was like really fun too. So it gets some of that like texture and everything in there that she has. It's just gorgeous. Like,
discovered there's a book called Mary Blair's Unique Flair, the girl who became the Disney Legends. I think it's a children's book.
Oh yeah, picture book.
Because the reading. So anyways, it looks adorable though, the cover.
Yes.
So
no, it's so cute. There's a lot of books that just have a bunch of her artwork in them. And I'm like, that is super fun too, to just have these full paintings. One of the things that says on it too is a soft-spoken, unassuming woman dominated design at the Walt Disney Studios. And yeah, I think that's true. Like when you look at her artwork, you can tell how much influence she had on the Disney parks. Like I feel like it's such an aesthetic look at like where they ended up going.
Totally.
And like how fundamental Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland, and Cinderella ended up being for Disney. And yeah, to just her setting up the entire imagery of Walt Disney for the next century, and yet we don't know anything about her.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad at least that she's considered a Disney legend.
I
and
agree.
That she's gotten some credit for what she did do. And if anything, I mean, her legacy lives on as like the prettiest Disney animated movies.
Oh gosh, gorgeous. Her Cinderella concept art.
I was just looking like the one with the fairy godmother in the carriage. It's so beautiful. Like I want that up in my home, actually.
Yeah. Like you guys literally have to go and look at this stuff. It's
so sweet. It's so cool.
Gorgeous. So anyway, I want to see some of her graphic design work too. I'm going to see if I have to find it. Because I just love it. I feel like graphic designers are like little unassuming artists a lot of the time. Like, we like being behind the scenes. So we're like, yeah, I'll just do my job and then move on. And if that impacts your company for a century, like, that's fine.
Yeah, that's true. Because it's like, was she even mad that she wasn't getting the credit she deserved?
Probably
like,
not.
Probably not. She
probably didn't even think
did her
anything
job.
of it.
She worked hard on the art and was like, all right, I'm over this. Time for the next gig.
Yep.
You know, like, it's interesting how that can happen sometimes when you're just a paid artist.
No, 100%. And I don't think she understood the level that it would end up
Yeah. Well, especially because it's like Disney then is not what it is now.
No, not even close. Yeah. It was a little small film studio for children.
Yeah. And I'm like, obviously those movies did well.
Oh,
but
yeah. And they were employing a lot of people. But it was not
the monopoly.
No.
You know, is it the monopoly, the
I don't
dynasty?
know. I'm
trying to think of the word.
I think dynasty works too.
Yeah.
It is a dynasty.
It could be like you and your work at your company.
Oh,
Maybe it changes the company, and years from now, people will be like, oh, she didn't get the credit you deserved. And you're like, I was just doing my job.
I made some ads, okay? No, really. I think it's like a huge thing because you just look at it as another project and then you move on. You're not like trying to create a whole, even like branding. I think of that, like people change logos and it's just, whatever.
Yeah. Like the designers that are on staff there just like work to create it and then they stay at that job for a while. And then they move on.
And it goes in their portfolio and no one even talks about it.
R.I.P.
It's
Here's
okay.
Shout out to the unsung graphic designers.
Yeah, there's some in every industry. But like, it's not like there's huge award shows for like art. In corporate art, especially
corporate art awards. Yeah,
there is an organization called AIGA, and they're basically the highest you can get, but they're just little. It's the American Institute of Graphic Arts, and they do award a lot of posthumous awards and stuff like that. I don't think they've given her one because I guess her most famous art is more like illustration.
Illustration, that makes sense.
I still feel like she might deserve one. But
probably
that's it. And no normal person has ever heard of the AIG. Whereas everyone hears about the Grammys. So it's just a different level.
That's true. Yeah, I guess certain things are a little bit more present in pop culture, certain forms of art, unfortunately.
Even though logos, they're on everything you own. So you probably look at more of those every day than listen to music.
That's fair.
Yeah.
At least hopefully the corporate graphic designers are getting paid.
Oh, yeah.
Compensated well for their work. At least they have that going for them.
Yeah. We don't have to worry about working with clients and crap like that. We have insurance and we get paid.
Which is great. Yeah. To be an artist with insurance, like, what a win in life.
Yes. It's just a very practical form of art. And I feel like you can't really have much of an ego because your stuff gets ripped to shreds every turn.
Every day,
You just have to like let it go.
Yeah, but so that's the truth is honestly, who knows even how much she put a lot of herself and her style into the art, but maybe she's a bit detached to it because she knew the animators aren't going to make this look exactly like
I know, and she was like a colorist and concept artist. She didn't end up actually creating the final film. So I'm sure there probably was a lot of detachment from it. And I don't think she knew back then, of course, that they were going to collect all of the Disney concept art from all of the original films and have it become this hollowed art that we all look at forever.
Yeah. As far as she knew, no one would ever see it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Except the animators who apparently didn't like her. So there you go.
Boo them. And I'm glad, though, that now we can see the concept art because it is beautiful.
Yeah. And she is very well known now, especially in that world. There are a ton of books of her concept art and everything. I'm glad I found her. Like I said, she helped me with my little project and it did end up turning out wonderful. So that was fun.
I'm sure it was adorable.
Thank you. It was very cute. I'm glad she was there to help me in my time of need.
Yeah, I love that. Women artists helping each other.
I know. I was so excited when I found her and I was like, oh, a woman is going to inspire me to do this.
Amazing.
This is perfect.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, that's cool. Mary Blair.
I am happy to learn about her. And I'm also happy to add that children's book to my list. I don't have children yet, but when I do, we have found a lot of children's books that are on the artists that we've covered. And so
we are going to have
on the list.
Such well-rounded children one day.
I sure hope so. That is truly one of the main things I want out of my life.
I know, right?
Have well-rounded, smart children.
And that would be great.
plan on doing my part.
When they're infants and toddlers, we can just prop them up and they'll listen to us while we do our podcast.
I know. I'm like, now sit there.
We're going to learn all this person.
Yeah.
Take
time
notes.
for you to listen. I'll just be like rocking them to sleep, like playing old episodes of our podcast.
Yeah,
like,
there you go.
Hear that? You hear about that woman? Interesting.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing this artist into my life. And I can't wait to go see and research more of what she's done. Because it's beautiful.
And anyone who, like, the next trip you go to Disneyland, like, definitely look for her and It's a Small World and look around at all the murals and stuff. And I'm sure you'll see a lot of inspiration from her work.
Thank you, listener, for joining us here and being back here. We'll be back next Monday, of course, with another episode. If you're a fan of the podcast, remember you can watch on YouTube. And if anyone was watching on YouTube today and they're like, wow, Sadie looks green. I know. I don't know what's going on with my lighting. I had to acknowledge that.
You know, we press on.
We press on. But leave us a rating, review, subscribe, all the things. And thank you for your love and support and for caring about what we do, because we care about it a whole lot.
We do too. And we will see you next time. Bye.
See you next time. Bye.